Tracey. Welcome to We Knew the Moon. Today I'm here with Dee.
Hi!
And Dee is going to do a podcast on the full moon.
The full moon. I have to admit, this is my favourite phase.
Me too.
It shouldn't be. It should be the new moon in terms of how much I get done and how I feel, but I still feel drawn to the full moon. But I just think there's something just so romantic about it, so endearing about it. It just draws you. It's stunning, isn't it? When you see that full moon in the sky, it looks gorgeous, doesn't it?
It's one that's got so many stories to it, and also I think both of us are quite driven people.
Yeah.
We're fire and earth, and we are busy with our brains most of the time, mentally going forward. For me, full moon really gives me time to get in touch with that spiritual side and feel a bit more emotional and allow myself to as well. So I can all dream me just thinking about it.
Do you know what I was thinking about? Moon baths.
Moon baths.
Yeah, so I'll touch on the different sort of rituals and activities that are really good at this time.
If you love the moon, follow it, believe in its effects, don't believe in its effects. There's very few people who can't say they've not noticed a gorgeous full moon.
And also, it is the phase of the moon that we've talked about this before on this podcast, most cultures, religions, races, nationalities, whatever, have some kind of folklore, stories, etc. around the full moon.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's more tied into periods. I remember once I went to Guyana in South America, and there was a stream I wasn't allowed to go into if I had my period. But you have obviously stories about werewolves or things happening at the time of full moon. You hear stories from EMTs, like emergency first responders, and nurses and nursery owners, etc., that the full moon is definitely a state of where patients and babies and so forth are much more agitated or energetic. So the full moon is when the moon is on the opposite side of the Earth to the sun. So it will go sun, Earth, moon, if that makes sense. So it means that the side of the moon that the sun is illuminating is facing the Earth. We're seeing the reflection of the sunlight
seeing the
off
whole
the moon.
thing.
Yeah, that is why we can see the fully illuminated side. Now, the woo-woo part of that is that it is a time for you to seal your intentions. You know, in the new moon episode, you talked a lot about setting intentions. You've got that energy, you've got that motivation to start new projects, open up to new opportunities, etc., etc. And now is the time to kind of reap those rewards before we go into the phases between the full moon and the new moon, where we kind of reflect over what we've achieved. It's a time to seal your intentions. It's a time to release any setbacks you have. Kind of like an agricultural harvest, you should be reaping the benefits of your intentions that you set during your new moon.
Which hopefully you have a lot. If you set your new moon intentions, and to this point you've been working really hard to achieve all your goals.
You've set realistic goals, achievable ones.
And you've done it all. Like, now is the time to really, I think, pat yourself on the back of everything you've done.
Exactly. Take a moment to sort of step back and realize what you achieved. Just before we started recording this, and I said I was telling my friend about what you and I have been doing with We Knew the Moon, and she looked at our website and she was like, wow, you guys have done so much. And I was like, wow, actually, we have done. In a short space of time, we managed to accomplish quite a lot.
Only when you take a step back. That's saying you can't see the wood for the trees.
Exactly.
This lets you see exactly where you're at. Before I fully understood the lunar cycle, I would just plod on. To this point, you're really driven, and full moon arrives. And if you're not following your lunar diary, you may find yourself trying to work through it and continue. And it was just a disaster.
I find
it was a mess.
Yeah, and I find ignoring the phases after the full moon are even more disastrous.
Yes.
The time when we need to be retreating and recovering and reflecting. If you're still trying to go in that phase, it can just fuck you up for the next lunar cycle, can't it?
It makes your brain a mushy mess. You're trying really hard to focus and you just keep getting distracted, and then it hits midday and it's like, I've got nothing done today. And then you look at the calendar and guess what's happening? It's full moon. So I definitely now stop, if I can, all the complicated stuff.
If you don't take that time, especially after the full moon, to recover, reflect, prepare for the next new moon cycle, then you start that next new moon cycle feeling drained. There's a couple of things that I really love doing. I know you and I, we've basically bonded over a moon bath.
Yes.
Like, not bathing together,
a moon bath.
but we do like our respective individual moon baths. even if you don't think the moon has anything to do with how you are as a person, in which case I don't know what you're doing listening to this, but just carving out that one time a month at the very least to just have a proper pampery self-care bath. Like, make it a thing. Yeah. Make it an event. It's not your washing bath. It's not that. It's picking your favorite, like, fancy Epsom salts, or...
It is time to use that fancy bath bomb that you've been saving since Christmas.
Yeah. If you wonder why bath bombs are so expensive, those are the ones that you use on special occasions, like full moons.
But even if you don't like a bath, I have to admit, I'm not a bath person. I never understood people that could spend hours in the bath. I didn't see the point.
Yeah. I would get in the bath and get bored. Yeah. Like, I'm in now, now what?
Can't get comfortable, it's too hot, it's too cold.
Can't wash my hair because I have really long hair, it's not practical.
Yeah. All these things where you just think, by the time I've ran it, I don't feel like having one anymore. But a full moon bath, if ever you need convincing of what a bath's about, try it on a full moon. Your mental state's just the right.
Yeah, and because you have to think of it as a pampery self-care activity. It's not a washing bath. This is your spa bath.
It is.
You know, imagine your
Take your crystals with you as well, and your candles.
I've got an amazing one at the moment. Well, I've just got a new amazing one from you. But one I have at the moment in my bath is a Moroccan mint tea.
Ooh,
oh, it smells so good, and it smells so good for so long after it's even been blown out.
Is it quite zesty and refreshing?
Yeah, it smells like minty tea, you know, it's amazing. Be realistic with your expectations. For example, I can now, this is going to sound weird, but if you had this problem, you'll get it. I can now sit in the bath without any music or podcast or TV on my phone or whatever. Before, I couldn't. I had to practice working up to that. You know, in this sort of modern society where we're constantly go, 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 and all this stimulus and, Aries brain and whatever, to just sit there not doing anything and not think, not listening to something, not watching something, just sitting there in my own thoughts, which, we can feel very uncomfortable with our own thoughts for too long. It was a bit too big and scary at first.
And sometimes the more you try, the more you put pressure on yourself, and then the more you can't do it, and then you get agitated and you're going against the whole flow of what you're supposed to be doing.
Start off with like watching something on Netflix that you find relaxing, or listening to a good podcast. I found loads of podcasts that were storytelling podcasts. So they're great, like adult really storytelling. Nice. It's just lovely. So,
audiobooks as well.
Some people like audiobooks, but these were kind of short, 30 minutes, an hour long podcast stories. So, rather than a longer book that you might listen to.
I know a good podcast you could listen to.
Is it this one?
Is this one?
So some of the other things that I know you and I both like to do around about the full moon, and there's loads, isn't there? If you Google full moon rituals, there's loads.
It's a big to-do list, but I wouldn't try and do them all because you ruin
the fun of it, right? Yeah. If you start feeling obliged. You might feel inclined to put your crystals out in the moon, either in your garden or outside on a windowsill, or if you don't have that kind of space, then on a internal windowsill where they will be touched by the moonlight. And this is meant to cleanse your crystals and recharge them. But maybe you don't feel the need to cleanse all of them every month because maybe you haven't been using all of them every month. So just, do what you feel inclined to. Do what feels natural.
I pick the ones that I've used a lot. Yeah. Or the ones I think I will need. Yeah. Based on the next 2 coming weeks.
All of these things help shift your mindset as well, I think, It makes you feel, again, like you're getting a bit more energy, and emotionally you're cleansing yourself, you're recharging and so forth. All these things that give you emotional support, you're making them stronger, and they're going to be there for you even more. Giving them a bit of a wash with moon water, which is another thing that we love doing. Properly woo-woo, isn't it? But I love it. Putting bottles of water, preferably glass bottles or ceramic, but, trying to stay away from plastics and so forth. Bottles of water outside, again, to get charged up by the moon. And this is called moon water, and you can use this moon water for anything. I always like to make my first cup of coffee the following day.
Oh, do you? That's nice.
Yeah, but then after that I don't use it for I don't consume it. I know you can boil it and so forth, but I'm always a bit like...
It's been sitting
again,
a while.
Time in Guyana, where we had to sort of sterilize our water. These little rituals...
They make a big difference.
They're just something you're doing for you as well, which is a nice feeling. Again, you can sort of rinse your crystals with your moon water. I use it for my oil diffuser. It's, again, another thing that in loads of cultures and loads of religions and so forth, people have these stories around water, holy water, sacred water. It's also something about marking time all of these rituals, they kind of help us be more conscious of time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And the time of the year, the time of the month. The reason why I think that's important is because just plod along with life. We don't take much time reflecting where we are and what's happened. And we have it a little bit at New Year. Quite often we beat ourselves up around the New Year, right?
Yeah,
like,
we do set unrealistic expectations.
I didn't do my resolutions from last year.
Even the pressure to have a good night.
If you have 12 mini New Years with the new moons... You know, there's less pressure on each one.
Yeah, you're dividing it up.
But it's a really nice way of just marking time, being a bit more conscious about it, making sure you're spending your time doing the best things for you, spending it with the best people for you. It's nice to have that moment of reflection. And I think having these rituals around the new moon and the full moon, they also help us stay a bit more conscious about the time passing and are we doing the right thing.
Definitely. And if you don't get it quite right, you know you've got 11 other full moons
what are we going to tweak? And that's very much the energy of the full moon, is reflecting on where you are now. You set your new moon intentions. Have you managed them? Have you accomplished them? Are you on the right path? What are you feeling right now? What is this moon trying to tell you? And that's why it's super important to have these moments of reflection. In the new moon, you covered the solar eclipse, when the moon, in the new moon phase, blocks some or all of the sun.
Yes, in the daytime.
So I'm going to talk to you about full moon eclipse. What it means for us is everything that the full moon means, but on speed. You're going to feel even more the emotions that you have on a full moon. You are going to need to have more time to contemplate, to relax, to retreat, to reflect. Take a longer moon bath, probably, because it is going to be a super hyped up time. I also want to talk to you about the supermoon.
Ooh, right? Sounds like a superhero moon.
So you might hear that every now and then a full moon is a supermoon. And what that means is that the full moon has happened, the new moon or the full moon, but obviously we can't see the new moon. They happen when the moon is at the closest point to the Earth. So on the moon's circuit around the Earth, the full moon happens when it's closest to the Earth. And what that means, I was shocked by this because I didn't know the figure. What that means is that it appears 14% bigger than a normal full moon.
Massive moon.
Right? That's
this
crazy.
Must be the point when some people do notice it more. Or say it's a beautiful full moon tonight. Oh, look at the moon. And it's probably going to be a super
Like, how can you not notice when it's 14% bigger than it normally is, right? And like with the full moon eclipse, it's like a normal full moon, except amplified. It means that something exciting is going to happen, and you have to, like with the new moon, stay open to it. But very importantly, stay grounded, because it is a very emotional time.
Yes, I can imagine you could go off in all sorts of directions on a super full moon.
Right?
You could lose yourself for hours.
Do some meditation, do some journaling. If things aren't working for you, if you're trying to do your accounts, for example, and it's just not working, then leave it for a couple of days, if you can.
You've heard my story of people driving.
Yeah.
I would recommend never driving on the eve of a full moon either.
Just lock yourself in, take a moon bath.
Just don't do anything that uses the brain too much. Isn't it funny how it affects us so dear?
Right, well, we're so made up of water. Exactly, and it affects the tides. If it can affect whole oceans, why is it so crazy that it can affect us?
Do you have the percentage of the human body? This is really science.
No, I know, but it's about 70, isn't it? 60 to 75, I've heard.
High percentage of water that we're made up of. So when you look at what it does to a river, a tidal river.
Anyone with any stories about the full moon and how it affects humans, plants, animals.
Love to hear them.
We want to hear it, whether it's sciencey or woo-woo-wee, we want to hear it. We love those kinds of stories, right?
I mean, you hear some horrible stories about violence increasing during full moon because of agitation. I generally think the agitation comes because people are flustered with trying to fight it.
Yeah.
And we all get agitated when you're trying to do something and you lose your pen. I think that's where the anger and agitation comes from, ourselves rather than the moon.
Yeah.
One of my customers came in and I told her it was a full moon. She worked in a nursery and she said, I'm going to have a tricky day tomorrow because babies don't sleep very well, which makes them grouchy the next day. I'd love to hear what experiences people have.
And as you've probably gathered, our dear listeners, Tracey and I are not scientists. So we'd love to know more about that kind of side of things as well. But if you could tell us in layman's terms so we can follow.
Although, Dee, actually speak for yourself, because I have A-level. No, I'm not. I don't remember any of it.
But it hasn't dampened our curiosity and our desire to learn.
We like the facts with the spiritual, and if they meet, that's even better.
Yeah. I want to tell you now about the different moons of the year So
is this the fancy name?
The fancy names for them, yeah. So a lot of the names link to the different moons of the year. So basically every full moon in every month has a name, or a bunch of names actually. Quite often they are associated with the harvest or what's going on in agriculture and so forth. Again, because the moon was so much used as a marker of time.
Of course, before we had clocks or
calendars, all of these things, right?
Yeah, we needed the moon to follow the seasons and things.
Exactly. So each moon had a name, and it was normally linked very much with what was going on at that time of the year. So some of them are like, yeah, pretty freaking obvious, and others need a little bit more explanation, but all of the names are super cute. They can be confusing because a lot of moons have multiple names, and a lot of the moons share the same different names. Alright, so January is the wolf moon. This is one of my favorite because I used to love a band called Typo Negative when I was a teenager, and they had a song called Wolf Moon. Wolf Moon is named after the howling wolves. I guess they must have been more active around about this time, and we've talked before about the wolves howling at the moon for a mate.
We did.
This moon is also known as the moon after Yule. Makes a bit more sense because it's January. The old moon, I don't know why, also known as the ice moon or the snow moon. Again, it's in winter, so yeah. But then February moon is also known as the snow moon. So again, it would be different cultures, different religions, different countries, etc., having different names for them, and I've just listed a bunch of them for you. So February, snow moon. Obviously February is actually the height of winter. Some North American tribes named it the hunger moon due to the fact that there was not that much food around in midwinter.
Oh, that's sad,
right?
Isn't it?
So, hunger moon, slightly sad name for it. March, this might be my least favourite.
Go on, what's it called?
Worm moon, because earthworms come out at the end of winter. So I would probably call it one of the alternative names. Crow moon, you know I love my crows.
Dee loves crows.
Or they love me, they follow me everywhere.
Dee everywhere. We still need to figure this out.
Did I tell you we parked? Paul and I pulled up to park next to a little green the other day. I think it was when I popped out to see you. The green where you take Georgie and Charlie to do their business when you're at the shop.
Oh, yes.
And there was literally, couldn't see the grass for crows on that green.
Really?
And I had to walk across it to go to your shop. And I was
They do follow you.
So I don't know what that means. If you know what that means, please let me know. Unless it means I'm going to die soon. I don't want to know that. So, March moon is also known as the crow moon, the crust moon,
Crust moon.
sap moon, sugar moon.
Sugar moon, we'll go with sugar moon.
Sugar moon is lovely.
That's really lovely.
Also known as the chaste moon, which the February moon is also known as. The Lenten moon, which I guess is a more slightly religious name for it, because it's around about Easter, Lent time, etc. April. Is this your favourite? The pink moon? No, I think I know which one of your favourite is. I think it's in June.
Okay.
Alright.
But I do like the pink moon.
Yeah.
That's lovely too.
Something about Tracey. Tracey's either all in black or all in pink. Or some combination of the two.
Yeah, I like to mix them together.
So today you're half-half, aren't you? But
I like to accessorise with pink. Yeah.
But I feel like it very much symbolises your sides of your personality as well.
I always think that I love to wear black and grey, but I think life and spirituality and my shop's really colourful, and I always describe my shop as very spiritual, but not in a very gothic, moody, dark sense. Like, you have to have colour. I love colour.
Although you do have your skulls and black and roses shelf, don't you?
We do, and then I surround it with unicorns.
Also known as your
flamingos.
shelf.
Yeah.
But I love that about it, because you can be all these different things, right?
You can.
You know?
Your own style.
Like, I love skulls and I love unicorns, and I'm okay with that.
And
that's
you
not
know,
weird.
Dee, at one point I had a pink skull in my shop.
Yeah. Perfect.
Why not? With flowers on it.
Why the devil not?
No.
Exactly. So April is a pink moon, named so because it is the time that the pink flowers, the phlox, come into bloom. So obviously April, spring. Other names for this full moon: sprouting grass moon.
Ooh, it's a bit of a long one, isn't it?
Yeah, not very sexy, but whatever. Fish moon, less sexy.
They're getting worse.
Hare moon, we like that, don't we?
I was in the rabbit
Exactly,
hair.
so hare is very much linked to fertility. This is why the Easter Bunny came into existence. If you ever wondered why in Christian religion there's a bunny delivering eggs, it's because they're all pre-Christian symbols of fertility pagan. From this time of the year, which was spring, which is new life and, you know,
new beginnings and rebirth. The hair-gazing moon we talked about before. Really old pagan symbol, which means exactly those things.
Exactly, and so to help the pagans...
Did I say hair-gazing moon? Moon-gazing hair.
We knew what you meant.
I'm very sorry.
But yeah, to sort of help spread the Christian word, they would often incorporate all these pagan folklore and ideas and holiday dates into the Christian calendar and stories and discourses to help people convert, because it was less of a stretch, you know.
We should do a podcast on the Wheel of the Year. Because once you start to learn about, particularly with, like we mentioned, Easter and Yule and Christmas, you'll see where all the traditions come from and how they're very closely linked.
And it shows how they evolve one from the other.
Yeah, shall we do it, Dee?
I think
Season 2.
But
watch out.
Especially around, like you said, Easter and Christmas. Those are two of the Christian holidays that are so steeped in pre-Christian beliefs.
Yeah.
So
even from bringing a Christmas tree and having a wreath on your door.
Wreaths, mistletoe, all of those things. So right, April, pink moon, very much a time of fertility, new life, after the winter. So another, it won't surprise you, another name for this moon is the egg moon. I don't know if I'm saying this right, the paschal moon, because it's used to calculate the date of Easter. Because again, Easter changes every year, doesn't it? It's because it goes according to the lunar cycle.
Yeah.
So May, flower moon, again, because the flowers are coming into bloom. Another name for this is the corn planting moon, which is very practical.
Very long-winded.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be planting any corn during this time. But another one that I really like is the milk moon. I don't know, that must be something to do with dairy, agriculture, I don't know.
Cows, maybe.
Cute. June. This is the one I think might be your favourite. Strawberry moon?
Strawberry moon, there it is.
I can't think of the Strawberry Moon without thinking of this club off Oxford Street called Strawberry Moon.
Oh, really?
But I remember their cocktails being great, and that's all I remember, which is a good sign.
Sounds like it was a good club.
But
I love this name, Strawberry Moon.
I know, it's so cute. It's so cute. And it's because it's a time when strawberries come out, and they ripen at this time. Just like the pink moon is not because the moon is actually pink. They do not necessarily look any different.
Strawberry.
No, it's just that these are times of the year for these.
Strawberry.
And then rose moon as well.
Oh, rose
which is a lovely name. July is, I think, a really masculine sounding name. The buck moon. Because it signifies when antlers emerge on deer bucks' foreheads. This is the time when they grow their antlers, which is super cute, actually, isn't it? It's also known as the thunder moon.
Do you know, I like that these are really obvious names.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so,
they haven't gone deep on this, have they, when they were naming them?
No, they were like, what's happening? Let's name it after that.
Yeah.
Wort moon, wort spelled W-O-R-T, like St. John's wort or mugwort.
Oh, again, to do with gardening.
Perhaps it's a time when they come into season. Or hay moon, which again, it might be something to do with hay.
It's all very agricultural, isn't it?
Yeah,
you
exactly.
can do your gardening around the moon.
August is the sturgeon moon. Large number of fish in the lakes.
Who probably follow the moon.
Again, also known as green corn moon or barley moon or fruit moon or grain moon.
My goodness.
Again, very harvesty names, right? September is also known as the corn moon or the full corn moon or the barley moon. October is the harvest moon.
Oh, it reminds me of Harvest Festival we used to have at school, which again is pagan related.
Mm-hmm. And Halloween, All Hallows Eve, is very much a harvest festival. It is the first of several harvest festivals. No, it's not. It's the final one. And it's kind of the new moon of the year in the pagan diary or the Wiccan diary or whatever.
Saying goodbye to summer and welcoming in the darkness of winter.
So it's basically preparing for the coming winter by hunting, slaughtering and preserving meats for use of food, and preparing your grains and so forth as well. The October full moon is also called the hunter's moon for that reason. Dying grass moon, if you want to name all of your moons after grass.
Very obvious.
Blood moon or sanguine moon.
I never knew there were so many names.
So many names for the different moons, right? The next one makes me laugh because, again, I have the humour of the 12-year-old boy. Beaver moon in November.
Beaver moon.
And again, not in the UK, because I don't think we have beavers here, do we?
I want to say no. I'm sure we don't.
But anyways, we definitely don't have them prolifically. Beavers become more active while preparing for the winter. Also known as the frosty moon.
You could have a whole book on all the different moons.
And then the December moon is...
we've not even done December.
No, we've not. December is known as the cold moon, also known as the moon before Yule, also known as the wolf moon, which you might remember is also the name of the one in January. So a lot of the names overlap, you know. But as you can see, they're very much tied with what's happening weather-wise, what's happening harvest-wise at that time of the year. So pay attention when next time you watch your period drama, because you hear these things come up when they try to make, the dialogue sound authentic, how people would talk in those times. So some years have 13 full moons. We talked about this in the new moon episode. I believe we might have stated, me in particular, some untruths through ignorance about how often. But basically, some years have 13 full moons, some years have 13 new moons. We need to do more research about how often this happens. But when a year has 13 full moons instead of the 12, that 13th one is known as a blue moon.
Which is why they say once in a blue moon. It's a rare thing.
But I have made a note that that's not the only definition of a blue moon. So again...
So like the black moon.
Like with the black moon, like with the new moon names, with the full moon names, they vary from person to person, culture to culture. I am happy to admit that I don't pay attention to what every single full moon is called for each month.
No.
I pick out the ones that I like.
Exactly.
Like
I only pay attention to when it's strawberry moon.
Because you like it.
Because I like it.
And that's fine. If that's the time of year that gets you excited and makes you happy. I mean, we're not growing corn, are we?
But it's lovely to still pay tribute.
Right, so in summary, the full moon represents fertility. There's a lot of transformation during this time, completion of our new moon intentions, and hopefully abundance, because we're reaping what we sow. It's also a time for releasing relationships, jobs, thoughts, situations, emotions, people, etc. that are no longer serving us. It's a great time for decluttering. So again, a really nice time to have a little tidy up. And the moon will act in your favor during this time. If you are, if you're paying attention to it, if you're doing this right, then it's a very positive time in terms of reaping what we sow.
Fight it.
Yeah.
And then the agitation.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I've written here in my notes, full moons sound awesome. What's the catch? Well, they can be super intense, super emotional, especially if, like we said, there's supermoon or there's an eclipse. And the supermoons happen really often. They happen I think there's about 3 this year or 4.
Wow, so
they're quite common.
Yeah.
So what you need to do is make sure you're channeling your energy for good and using that reflection time to really figure out what's going on in your head, in your soul right now.
Don't fight a full moon.
No, never fight a full moon.
Go with it and you'll have a really lovely full moon, hopefully.
Exactly.
Depending what sign it's in, it'll be a different journey.
I notice even my dog is weird at full moon.
Really?
Yeah.
Little Lola?
Uh-huh.
Oh, what does she do?
She's just aggy, you know what I mean? Like, when they can't settle, antsy.
Yeah, they definitely feel it.
Yeah, definitely.
They
do. We would also love for you to get in touch with your full moon rituals.
Full moon's a big one.
Yeah, it definitely is. Super exciting times. All right, well, we're going to head off now, so...
Thank you for listening, and happy full moon if you're listening to this at full moon.
Happy full moon.
Bye.
If you enjoyed that and if you want more from us, why don't you head over to our Patreon page, patreon.com/We Knew the Moon, and check out some bonus content.
Also, if you want to stay up to date, you can follow us on our Facebook page at we.knew.the.moon. You could also leave us a review on our Facebook page as well. That would mean a lot.
Our Instagram handle is the same as our Facebook at we.knew.the.moon. We're also on Twitter, We Knew the Moon 1. Search for We Knew the Moon on Pinterest if you want to see us there.
Finally, if you want lots more fun, moon info and all things spiritual, plus our lovely shop, please visit our website www.weknewthemoon.co.uk.